Hey guys, and welcome to Monifactory Progression Log 6. I know this is a day early, but we have a lot to go over, and I'm super excited about the stuff that I have to show you this week. I have built the first and second largest places in the base, as well as my favorite place in the base, like twice. Um, so we'll go ahead and get started. As you can see over here, we have high octane gasoline. So we'll start off with that. So I know we talked about using nitrobenzene as a fuel source. However, that plan very quickly changed. That had to do with the fact that nitrobenzene is burned in a large gas turbine, and large gas turbines require rotors, and rotors have to have a durability and have to be replaced. And at the time, the best rotor we could make was the Ultimate. Now we can make tungsten steel, but at the time it was Ultimate, which has about 26 hours of operational durability. And that would mean after we switched over to large gas turbines full time and away from pneumatics, it's very likely that some of the rotors would be running 24/7, which means we'd have to replace multiple rotors at least once per day and every day, as long for until we switch to something else, um, which would probably be plasma turbines, which can also be more rotor replacing. And we don't know. I don't know about that yet. But none of us really wanted to do that. None of us really wanted to have to replace turbine rotors every single day. So instead, we switched to high octane gasoline, for multiple reasons. High octane gasoline is used in a recipe, an end game recipe to make cryobulus. It also has a much more energy per millibucket. It's 3200 for high octane gasoline. Whereas if we look at nitrobenzene, for instance, nitrobenzene has only 1,280 EU a tick. So it's much better as a fuel source. It's more efficient. And you can also use high octane gasoline. There's even better fuel. You use high octane gasoline to make it, and it's called gene gasoline. And it uses a bunch of stuff, and it's IV, and it's more complex. But Gene burns 81,920 EU per millibucket. It's the best burnable fuel in the game. So we'd probably be switching to Gene at some point anyway over nitrobenzene. I don't really know. If I made a space for some LCRs, and I'm excited to show that to you guys. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that just now. So we did switch away from nitrobenzene in the end. We are doing combustion engines because they don't require rotors at all. They do require lubricant, which is free because we have creosote and redstone on passive, and we're doing it that way. And oxygen, which is also effectively free, because there are so many processes around the base that produce oxygen. So we just have them down over here, and yeah, we just fill them with. We have some quadruple input hatches, and it's not filling lubricant in there. I am gonna have to fix that at some point. There is a small bug. I would say small. A serious. Sorry, guys. I've been talking a lot today. I'm running low on my voice. There's an issue with fluid cards from Laser.io. If you use counting filters in them, they can get stuck if they see another fluid on their channel that is greater than their counting amount. So because it's really annoying, I don't even know. And this shouldn't even be a counting filter. This should just be like a straight extraction. It looks like just regular regular extraction cards also just have a problem. So there's a problem with some fluid cards with Laser.io, so I'm gonna have to fix that. I am getting pretty annoyed with them. There's also a bug with counting filters and fluids. So I'll have to. So I would just not use them in your setups personally, or only have one fluid per channel, and make sure all of the filters for that fluid are set to the same amount. Though an easier solution is just not to use filters. If you have enough passive processes, things shouldn't be that expensive, I would hope. Things like sulfuric acid, that stuff. Anyway, so yeah. Eventually we are going to move to the IV combustion engines, and I keep saying, oh, we're so close to those for the last 3-4 days at this point. So I'm hoping we can get them soon. I had to set up a bunch of other things for that. So we're going to go ahead and look at LCRs first. And here is, let's see, I'll turn my night vision off, and I will set it to nighttime because I love this area at night. I built it into this nice little cave. I love it. I love it here. We have hog down here. We make raw gasoline, and then regular gasoline, nitrous oxide, ethyl, tarbutol ether, and then we make high octane gasoline here. We also make some liquid epoxy stuff. And if we come up here, we have more. We also have Platline over there, which I'll show in a second. And then we have more LCRs over here, where we make some more liquid epoxy things. We also have some liquid polyphenylene sulfide. We have phosphoric acid over here, and some stuff for lumium, like energized clathrate. Here is Platline. We delayed Platline by a lot. I should have done this a long time ago, but I did not really want to do Platline, so I didn't. So we actually had RTM alloy coils before we had Platline. That's because unlike ATM9, in which the only way to get ruthenium was to do Platline. In Monifactory, however, you can get laurite ore from T3 microminers. And this will give you a little bit. We had to run 6 of these to get enough laurite ore to make a set of. I think we managed to make 2 RTM alloy coil sets with that. So we had some RTM alloy coil sets first to make lumium, which we also then made SSG or HSSG. Then turns out we needed iridium for some stuff. So then I really did have to go do Platline, because the only way to get iridium is you have to do Platline or make microminers that require Platline to make effectively the first time. So I had to do Platline, and it's not that bad. It turns out I built room for an extra LCR here. I didn't actually need this, but that's fine. There's a slow process or two in this that may get like let's see. One of these processes takes like 20 seconds at EV or IV or whatever. So I may throw another LCR for that one. I left room here for multi-block versions of the electrolyzer and the centrifuge. This is very, very slow. This has been running legitimately all night, and it had 36K at around 1 in the morning for my time, and it's about 2:30 now. So in the 2:30 p.m. And it's a pretty. It's really slow. We'll get multi-blocks eventually, and then I'll rip these single block ones out. I can also just toss another centrifuge on this. I might do that at some point, but it's fine for now. It might be slow, but we don't really use too much of that stuff. And in here is the Deep Mountain Complex, which is probably the largest area by sheer footprint. Ore processing, where that's gonna go, I built the room for that, is also pretty large and is slightly larger in terms of machine pad space. But I think this area, they might be about the same size. I'm not sure. This is pretty big. I love this area. I love this design. I love having like the elevated walkway that then goes down. The reason we can't go up because we have about 10 blocks before we start running into. I think it's closer to 7 before we start running into the wiring tunnel above us for like the clean room. So I decided instead to go down. But instead of doing just a straight staircase, I was like, well, why not do like, like something like this? And I love this idea. I love how you can you'll be able to look down like the machine walls and stuff. And we were hurting for space just in general anyway. We were kind of cramming things into like factory floor 1 and factory floor 2. And they were definitely getting a little bit overfull. So while this area was originally built to set up indium, actually, we needed indium for high power circuits because in order to make the extreme combustion engines, we need 4 amp IV dynamo hatches. And 4 amp IV dynamo hatches, let's see, require HPICs because the IV dynamo hatch does. And HPICs, excuse me, sorry, require indium gallium phosphide and MPICs in a chemical reactor. That's being made over there. You're like, it's not in a clean room, Robo. I'll show you in a minute. But this over here is indium. It's pretty small, but I did want to do it on a subnet anyway, because there are a bunch of byproducts and various things that I don't really want to go to mainnet or have to put on a bunch of, drawers or whatever. I kind of wanted to keep them pretty compact. That actually wasn't the first subnet though I built for chemical processing. We can go ahead and Platline is actually on a subnet down here. How I set my subnet up in general is I set them up to extract only and make sure they have all of the storage they need on their own subnet. This means that the mainnet and subnet can't dump items into each other. They can only request or pull from one another. And how I've set this one up specifically is this is how the subnet would pull from mainnet, and this is set to 1000 priority, which is higher priority than the drives, and that's because some of the outputs of various recipes in Platline are used in some of the other recipes. So rather than wanting to endlessly having it the same priority, I want it to recycle those products first. It's not enough to actually keep the whole process going, unfortunately, but we do use hydrochloric acid elsewhere in the base, and I would like to save it. Hydrochloric acid is one of the things that gets recycled here the most, I think. It looks like we still do have a bunch of extra hydrochloric acid, but that's because we're not running that recipe that would consume it. I think it's one of the iridium metal one, I think. Yeah, it's iridium metal residue that uses hydrochloric acid, and you get some of it back from processing the osmium dust stuff. So like I said, it's not enough it still will have to step away at mainnet, but it will recycle what it can first, for example. And then if we come back down here, we can see that the way mainnet pulls from is set to -100 priority. That's because passive processes throughout mainnet are set on 0 priority, and there are some products like dusts and byproducts and things that are made on Platline that are produced passively throughout the base, but are a byproduct from Platline. Things like sulfuric acid, you get a lot of that from whenever you make the platinum sludge group. The platinum sludge group will make you sulfuric nickel solution or sulfuric copper solution as a byproduct, and that gets electrolyzed into sulfuric acid. And we have a lot of that stuff, and that does get used throughout the base. And I would like it to consume up this stuff first if it needs to, because this is on overflow destruction. Because while this is a useful byproduct, it is ultimately a byproduct, and I want to make sure the Platline does not stop for it. As sulfuric acid or copper dust and a couple of other dusts like gold, nickel, things like that, while they are very nice to have, they aren't the reason why I'm running Platline. And I need Platline for rhodium, palladium, platinum, ruthenium, and iridium. Those are the things I run Platline for, and I want to make sure that Platline is running for those things and won't stop for, copper or something like that. So we have a bunch of drives in here. We get a little bit of chlorine gas back as well, which is nice. So we do have that. Again, that's on OFD as well, but we can sip away at that too if necessary. So it will pull from here first. We actually have a lot of that stuff. That's nice. Sulfur trioxide and water, I have drives for these, just because they're both, sulfur trioxide is only ever used to make sulfuric acid, and that is before you get the good recipe with LCRs. And even before you had LCRs, we were doing hydrogen sulfide to sulfuric acid, which is 2 LCRs instead of sulfur trioxide, because you have to make sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide, sulfuric acid. So we've never actually used sulfur trioxide for anything. The reason why I have it on a drive anyway is just so I don't have to have a fluid trash can somewhere, and 1Ks are cheap. So as that way everything can just get blindly dumped into the subnet, and it'll get voided eventually anyway. Same thing with water too, it'll get voided eventually anyway. And you know what, if the system wants to pull water from here, sure, go for it. I don't care. Go ahead and do it. But we also get we do get some useful things like oxygen here as well. We have on a 64K drive because that's useful. Carbon dioxide I put on a 4K because you use it somewhere, I think. I don't know. And I didn't really feel like just straight up endlessly voiding it because we can always electrolyze carbon dioxide for carbon dust if we really, really have to. But I at the time I just felt like a 4K. Because it does technically have more uses than sulfur trioxide or water, because we do have the infinite cobble cell and the infinite water cell. We also have wireless now as well. That was nice to set up. It's so nice to have wireless now. While I really enjoy the aesthetic of having terminals everywhere, I enjoy having wireless more than the terminal everywhere aesthetic. Um, so yeah. Don't have to worry about, spamming 47,000 terminals anymore. So Plotline's done. It's on a subnet. I like it on a subnet. It makes it very nice because we can use the ME output hatches and output buses. And those are very nice. They're basically, instead of having to put an output bus on an interface, it's an output bus and an interface combined into a single block. So you just connect it to AE. And it will automatically pull from the system in terms of the input bus and input hatch. And in terms of the output ones, they just dump blindly straight into applied energistics, which is why they have to be on the subnet. Because I don't want them to dump. We don't dump blindly onto mainnet. Mainnet is mostly just used for managing external storages and stuff, as well as when we do auto crafting, we always produce a little bit, overproduce some things, and it stores those things as well. In here, we have the Deep Mountain Complex, as I showed before, and we have Indium down here. This is also a subnet too, and it's set up the same way. 1000. I set this one to just, let me set this to -10. I guess I forgot to set that priority. Oh wait, that's an interface, not the, yeah, there we go, -100 again. Because again, this one also does produce some useful byproducts, but I don't want them stopping for indium either. Like sulfur, silver, lead, zinc. Aluminum is here because it partially gets recycled. And here's something that really annoys me about Platline, or it's not Platline, sorry, indium. So aluminum sulfite is made in when you make indium, and you use 16 aluminum dust to basically catalyze the recipe, and you get 16 aluminum sulfite back. However, you only electrolyze this in sets of 14, and you don't even get any. You lose most of your aluminum that goes in. In ATM9, it was 16 for 16, and you got your aluminum back, from what I remember. So I'm really annoyed about this. Like, why are you making it in sets of 16 if you have to electrolyze it in sets of 14? Like, whatever, I guess. So this thing is a pretty big consumer of aluminum dust, but we get aluminum dust through a bunch of other areas throughout the base, so I don't particularly care. Another source of oxygen as well. So we have oxygen from, I don't know how many different processes. We electrolyze silicon dioxide. We electrolyze clay. We electrolyze some other stuff too throughout the base. And once we have ore processing set up, that'll be also, we'll get more oxygen from that too once we have passive electrolyzers for that ore processing. Here's where we make indium. This is not on a subnet, which is why it doesn't have an output bus. I have a ULV output bus just so it only has a stack in here, and then I have a storage bus on that. I didn't really see a reason to want to store, this stuff is kind of expensive because it does require indium gallium phosphide and some liquid vanadium gallium, and while the individual materials they go through aren't particularly expensive, vanadium gallium is like 40 seconds in an RTM alloy coil at EBF at EV. So I don't really want it to, buffer that much stuff. So instead of having a drawer and having a stack in the drawer and then like a stack in the machine, it was like, why not just put a stack in the machine and read off that? You're right, but if you're asking how we're running a clean room recipe, not in the clean room, it's because we have a cleaning maintenance hatch. And cleaning maintenance hatches, while they do require 5 IV circuits to craft, there's one each for the robot arms, and an auto maintenance hatch, it is an auto maintenance hatch that makes whatever multi-block it's a part of count as if it's a part of a clean room. So I didn't really want to run an IV chemical reactor in the clean room. I still do have to put an IV line in there for, there's some IV recipes we have to do, like, for example, cutting the HPICs. But I didn't want to put an LCR in there either, because LCRs are just, if something is worth doing in a chemical reactor, it's worth doing in a large chemical reactor. Large chemical reactors get perfect overclocks, so instead of 2 times the speed for 4 times the power with a regular overclock of using a single block machine, you get 4 times the speed for 4 times the power. And like, let's take a look at the HPIC recipe, right? So On a single block, we just overclock to LUV, and you can see we 4 times the power rate, double the total power for twice the speed. It goes from 1 minute to 30 seconds. Now in the large chemical reactor, if we hold Shift for perfect OC, you can see it's 4 times the power, 4 times the power rate, but it's still the same amount of total power it's still 9.2 million EU, rather than the 18 million it was over here. So you save a ton of power that way. So if something is worth doing in a chemical reactor, it's worth doing in a large chemical reactor. It's also easier to overclock because you don't have to break the whole machine and have all the items and void all the fluids or whatever. You just have to swap out the energy hatches and swap out like the converter and the cables and stuff. So you don't have to actually mess with any of the inventories. So yeah, this is nice. So clean room there, cleaning hatch there. Over here, we also have passive nether stars. We also have vanadium gallium piles on passive, as well as vanadium gallium arsenide on passive. Or gallium arsenide dust on passive. It's the small piles. We hadn't had this on passive until like last night, which is crazy because we're about 2 months in and we've been using this stuff since like almost instantly. And we've actually been consuming it passively through SMD diodes, which we've been using a lot of. So I don't know how we've been going without. Because I haven't, crafted any of this stuff. Maybe someone else has crafted some of it, but we have this stuff on passive. And this can be done in a packer, but it can also be crafted, and it's not really worth setting up a packer for, this. We don't need that kind of speed, because we're not running LV lines anywhere in the base. So minimum, we'd run it at an MV somewhere. And 0.25, 5 ticks? Really? Like, we don't use that much stuff. Bulls are pretty good, and they take, like, literally 10 minutes to smelt. So it's like, just use a molecular assembler, especially since we have a bunch of them over here for passive nether stars. Molecular assemblers are really, really good for passive crafting too. They have automatic item limiting in them, so you don't have to worry about counting filters or anything like that. You can just use regular filters for that, and they'll automatically limit. It'll also automatically push into the nearest available inventory, which is why we don't have any drawers here, because this one is making luminescence blocks. And luminescence blocks are only used, are only ever used in making nether star centers. So when I had a drawer here originally, it was outputting into the drawer, and then when I set this one up, it was outputting into this one, because this one makes the nether star centers. So if it was automatically pushing into the only crafting, the only machine that would ever use it throughout the entire base, why store a stack of it that are never going to get used? And same thing for the nether star center. It automatically gets pushed into here. So I didn't really see a point in putting any drawers there, so that's why there's no drawers there. But setting this up on passive was not too bad. So if you need some passive crafting done, molecular assemblers are the way to go. And if you do need something if you really need to have it super fast, you can just throw a bunch of acceleration cards in there, and then they're tick machines or something like that. They're ridiculously fast. They're already pretty quick as is, so it's not too bad at all. We have some extractors over here for liquid vanadium gallium. We need that for the HPICs, so we have that on passive over here. Yeah, so we have plenty of space in here for anything that we needs to get done. We'll put NAC line on here. I'm kind of saving these 3 machine pads for NAC line whenever we get around to that, which that isn't too far away if I'm being honest. So we have room for LCRs over there. We have room for non-NAC line LCRs over there. More LCRs over there. More LCRs there. So we should be pretty good for a while. There's also enough room in here to stack them if I have to. So I can always stack them up if I need to if we need that many LCRs. I can also, if I really need more space, I can just push this wall out probably and add another 2 machine wall, another staircase effectively, 2 more of those, or 2 more staircases, I guess. If I really have to. As you can see in the, here we are. We're getting actually pretty close to the other side of the mountain, so we can't go too far. And I would have to move more machine tunnels, or not machine tunnels, sorry, wire tunnels. I did have to move some wiring tunnels already. I had to push them out a couple blocks. So wait, I had to push them out over there. So I think we're actually good over here. Yeah, we'd be fine over here. So I could just push this out if I really have to, but that would be very time consuming. It took me 9 hours to build this area. So this was a significant time investment. All right, we've done over LCRs, plat line. Now we'll go over to the microverse projector area. We finally set this up. This is where we got our. I mentioned that we had RTM alloy coils before we actually had platline set up, and you get that via laterite ore, and laterite ore can be made via the T3 miners. So I made up 6 of these, and we got enough ore for about 2 sets of coils, or enough for 2 EBFs, including a wall share. This was pretty easy, and you notice we have so much tungsten here. I was so happy. If you guys ever watched my All the Mods 9 playthrough, you guys will know that from the moment we entered IV to the moment we managed to get the Mark II GregTech apiary running with tungsten bees, we were struggling with tungsten to the point where we had 15 miners at one point, and I was just constantly rolling them in the mining dimension. When they went out, when they finished, I just moved them again. We probably consumed like 2,000 chunks worth of ore over the playthrough. It was crazy. We were always super hungry for tungsten. And at a certain point, when I needed to process some other kinds of ore, I was checking on the factory floor 2 over here, which is grown. It's terrible. I hate it. This is absolutely the worst. I hate this so much. The one concession I did to make to upgrading it was to throw another thermal centrifuge on it, but it's still pretty bad. It didn't really meaningfully help. It was backed up with tungsten, and it's like, oh no, guys, we're gonna have to wait a little bit. We're still processing tungsten. No, So I'm happy to have so much tungsten. And if we take a look at our tungsten supply, we have 2,000 tungsten steel ingots, 256 of tungsten carbide and tungsten, and another 1,100 dust. So we're doing really well on tungsten. So I'm super happy about that. I will never turn down tungsten, oh boy, it's Christmas. What did Robo get? Tungsten! We have some other stuff over here. One thing we do use, we also process radon salts here from tier 2 miners for radon, because you need that for the quantum stars, which we use in wireless amongst other things like IV emitters. I set up carbon fibers over here as well. You use that for what do we use this for? You use it for something. Oh yes, the nano wafers. We also use it for the reinforced epoxy boards, which is the next tier of epoxy boards, because we do have epoxy set up as well. We process radon salts here for radon gas. This is how you get it the first time. Eventually, once you get into nuclear craft and you get plutonium, you can make it with plutonium, which you might do eventually. I don't know. But one problem we had... Oh, we also have tungsten processing over here. One problem we had with the Nether Star passives is they eat a lot of luminescence. And luminescence uses a lot of phosphoric acid. Like here, I'll show you. Luminescence takes 4 buckets of phosphoric acid. And phosphoric acid takes 2 buckets, so it's 1 to 1, right? And we didn't have any passive phosphorus, and there's not really too many great ways of getting phosphorus other than the way we're doing it right now, and it's ridiculously slow. So phosphorus you can get via electrolyzing phosphate dust, and apatite was the main way we were getting it up until I set this up. But I had electrolyzed all of our apatite, and it still wasn't enough. It ate we had like 1,100 dust, and then whatever the apatite put out, it ate all of that in minutes. It's exceptionally hungry. So the way we put this on passive is, the first way you get glowstone in this pack is you actually have to make it using a mixer with tricalcium phosphate and gold dust. You can actually centrifuge this back to tricalcium phosphate and gold dust. Well, we make glowstone dust on passive. We make that via the HNN area with witch predictions. So we can centrifuge glowstone dust for tricalcium phosphate, and then we can centrifuge tricalcium phosphate for phosphate and electrolyze phosphate dust. However, it takes 15 glowstone centrifuge operations to make enough products to make one phosphorus dust. 15. So a single EV centrifuge takes like 3 minutes to make enough to make one phosphorus dust. So I have 3 centrifuges running this recipe, and it's still really slow. It's been running all night, although I made full disclosure, I made a mistake when I set this up last night at like 2 in the morning. That I had forgot to connect this controller access point, so this centrifuge wasn't running all night, so we were only running 2. But still, it was 2 were running all night, and we're still not anywhere. We have 1.2k nether stars at the 2k buffer I set up, which I do want that large buffer because we are going to use lots of nether stars on passive eventually. We're going to use like quantumize and stuff. I need to set that on passive, but we don't have radon on passive, so right now they're on demand and they're super slow. Same thing with quantum stars. Yeah, so it's a bit rough. Eventually, like I said, eventually we can get radon through nuclear craft plutonium, and then we can put some of that stuff on passive. But we can't do that yet, unfortunately. And here's another process that produces oxygen, recycling, the carbon dust from the carbon dioxide from titanium tetrachloride. We get more oxygen over here from electrolyzing the phosphate dust. Lots and lots of stuff. Because we also produce gold dust over here as well, I can pull that off the macerators, things like that. So it's actually a very useful process line to process glowstone into this stuff. It's very good. Over here we also have we added some hard carbon. We started centrifuging endstone dust for helium gas. We do have helium gas from air distillation, but this also gives us a small chance at platinum and some tungstate. The sand was nice too, but I don't want to eat all of our endstone for that stuff, especially because of how low of a chance it is. And the helium is very, very useful, so there's no point in avoiding this stuff. We make hard carbon. We also make concrete over here. Because I will show you a new area, and we call it Montana. It's our area for nuclear craft. It's not set up connected to the base yet, so it's still under construction. Right now, a person has been building this nuclear silo where all of our nuclear craft stuff is going to go. We're going to have like a chain link fence over here, and we have like a little like bunker entrance and stuff, and we even have like an actual silo door. It doesn't open because we don't have create. There is create functionality, not functionality, sorry, compatibility. So we could add create so you can make opening doors. Maybe, I don't know what kind of stuff they disable, if they disable anything. But so it's just decorative. And we come down to Montana. And we even have a missile in our nuclear silo. So we have our own nuclear deterrent in our base. So those creepers won't know what hit them, even though we are on peaceful. So they're not even here. But just in case. I really love this area. A person's been building this. It looks really, really good. I love how it's like a departure from the rest of the base too. So it's very different. It's still obviously a work in progress. And it's very flashbangy, very bright. But I like it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to build nuclear craft in here. So yeah, I love this area. It's gonna be cool. And Montana. All right, so that's I can go show the other largest area, ore processing good. This took me I think probably about 8 hours to build between this and the path. Well, no, not quite 8 hours. Probably about 5, 6. This was where ore processing will go when we're using the multi-blocks. Although I am tempted just to set up some single block ones just because I'm so sick of our shitty one. It's 8 machine pads of 6 glowstones in length, and it's terraced all the way down. I really enjoy the terrace building style. And I found an area that was really cool to build it in, like a hill. This is pretty far away from like the river. I've been trying to build things like centralized around the river. And also central, not too far away from this. I want this to eventually be the center of the base. Like that's how Montana is going to connect. It's going to have a bridge a little bit coming from the underground section that will connect to here, the underground section of the command tower, which will be like the center of the base eventually. However, we have a lot of stuff to do. I kind of want to get ore processing done before we do that, though depending on when we need to do nuclear craft, which is somewhat soon, that may take priority. Although there are 3 of us, so maybe we can get all of them done simultaneously. We'll have to see. So this is, like I said, ore processing is going to be much, much better too. It's going to be even better than when I built it in ATM9. ATM9 had the problem of not having the stocking buses, for example. we have the stocking buses, and what these do is they automatically pull the first 16 items from the network. So we'll set up a bunch of subnets, and we'll use a bunch of storage buses, and it'll be really cool. Threefold did something. What I'm going to be doing is what Threefold did for his ore processing in his GregTech New Horizons playthrough, season 2. It was really good, really powerful, and it'll be easily extendable to as many machines as I want, instead of having to add new interfaces and filter new interfaces and add more laser nodes. It'll just, plug in stocking bus, plug it to subnet, done. Works. So yeah, but this isn't until we get IV power at least, which means we need to get the extreme combustion generators on, because we have to build a bunch of those. Right now we have enough to build 8, and we're gonna need a lot more than that. We're gonna need more. I talked to some people on the Monifactory and Threefold's Discord server, and they were running like 24 running gene before switching to Fusion, so we have a lot to build. Because we switched away from nitrobenzene, we're now voiding benzene, but we're not voiding acetone. This is the one thing we're having all of this stop up on, because acetone this is the only place we get acetone from, and it is used in making raw gasoline, which is part of the hog line, the high octane gasoline line. So yeah. Oh, by the way, I have exoskeleton legs now. So they don't have a quest for these, at least in the version I'm playing. I think they added one in 11.4. There was a recent update. We may update somewhat soon. Maybe next week or sometime next week. I'm still waiting to see if there's going to be another hotfix or 2 before I update. Because when they updated at 11.3, there were like 4 or 5 hotfixes. So, yeah, but they make you much faster. I think Eevee was probably a little bit too fast, personally, but I've gotten used to it by now. And they're not that expensive either. They're pretty cheap. Unfortunately, like if I want to go up to IV, you have to just make fresh ones. So you can't upgrade them. But like I said, they're just not that expensive. It's like 1 circuit and 2 motors and 2 pistons and some tin alloy. So it's been really helpful. And it's been really nice being fast again. And I can actually, now that I'm super fast, you guys can kind of see just how sprawling this base is. And I love how sprawling this base is. Oh, we've also added some more stuff in here. Clean room has been not physically expanded, but there's been a bunch more processes in here. We have some stuff on demand. I've been doing some circuits on demand. I can actually take this one out now. And this one out. And this one out. I had these before we had nano processors. I have I don't even think we don't even need these anymore either. Nice. I have the IV circuits on, or the LUV circuits on demand, and the IV circuits on demand right now. We don't use that many of them, and they're pretty expensive. So I don't really want to do. We might be able to do nano processors on passive, like the nano processor supercomputers on passive, but that does eat Lumium. So I'm hoping we might be able to wait until we get a crystal, but maybe not. I don't know. Now that we have, I might actually put this on passive sometime. But I do have to put up some IV lines in here. I'm going to try and get all of this stuff to IV. Though, I'm going to be honest, I don't know if we have that kind of power to do all this stuff at IV. So I might just have a small little temporary line and then eventually replace all those machines. Over here, an elevator down here to the LCR area. And then we can go. So, and then we can go back. You guys have already seen that. I love, just like I said before, I love sprawling mazy bases, especially because in all of the packs that I've played, on the channel at least, there's always been a solution to, oh yeah, we also did some mixer upgrades. For the first time, we stacked machine walls. We wanted to see if we would like it, and I like it over here. I think it's a very situational thing. I don't think it would have looked very good for like Factory Floor 1 if it was stacked, or Factory Floor 2. Well, maybe Factory Floor 2 would have partially looked okay stacked because of the raised area. But it's since up against like a taller cliff and like surrounded by like the bridge and stuff, it doesn't really seem, and especially again like also the other tall SCRs, it doesn't really seem that out of place, So I think it works here. We have a bunch of mixers and stuff for all the various stuffs that we need for EBFing, as well as like mana and stuff like primal mana. In terms of EBFs, we have tungsten ingots. We have titanium carbide, HSLA steel. We have lumium, HSSG, iridium, vanadium gallium, molybdenum disilicide, and tantalum carbide. All stuff we need for the alloy blast smelter. The alloy blast smelters will actually go over here as well. We built an area for them. They're not built yet because I put some of those alloys on passive last night. I still have to encode some recipes, and I actually need to add more benders on circuit 1 before we can actually even add more recipes. So I need to expand some on-demand stuff. And then we'll have some alloy blast smelters, which we need for the multi-block alloys, which I will. That's going to be what I work on before setting up the clean room, because I want that stuff to run first. I do want some of those alloys on passive because they're pretty slow, and we need a lot of them, right? So we need watertight steel, and this takes, well, even if we run this at EV, which we probably will have to, because I don't know if we have that kind of IV power. We don't have that many amps in terms of IV. Is like 5 minutes, and that's the good recipe. So, we need we need a bunch of that stuff, and this, how many ingots does that make? 11, 13, like 15, it'll make like 15 ingots or something like that. And then we're also going to need vibration safe casing, and vibration safe casing needs ink alloy. Where are ingots? And this requires like another like 260 seconds for the good recipe. And we're also going to need maceration safe casing. There you are. And this requires Xeron 100, which is a 402 seconds on the good recipe. So, I want to get those things on passive. And I had them on demand originally at ATM 9, and that was not a great decision. I spent hours waiting for even our first multi-blocks, even when doing them one at a time. And we're going to need a lot more than them one at a time. Yeah, so there's been some minor changes over here in Petrochem because of setting up Hog. We stopped avoiding several of our different fluid types. Naphtha and refinery gas are also level emitted because they're used in making raw gasoline. You need refinery gas and naphtha to make raw gasoline, which is used to make gasoline, which is used in Hog, which is eventually used in Gene. So, yeah. Those are level emitted and stuff, and that's basically the only change that was over here. Yeah, we do have a lot of naphtha here too. And we don't avoid any of this stuff either. We do still avoid refinery gas because it's refinery gas. You get a lot of that stuff. Yeah. I don't think. Let's see. We got that. I showed you Montana on demand too. We added some more stuff over here. This multi-smelter is just like a regular electric furnace. We have an LCR on no circuit. Some more extruders over here for long rods. Cosmic got sick of. I was just batching them by hand, and I was sick of that too. But Cosmic got sick of it so much she went and added an extruder for it. So there you go. Yeah, let's see. Long bridge. Like I said before, I love honestly, I think this is now my favorite base. As much as I loved my antimatter chemistry base, I have gotten better at base design every series that I've played on this channel. So Mechanical Mastery was the first one I played, and that base was super duper scuffed. Like, it was all right, but it was a mess. It really was a mess. And then Antimatter Chemistry was a super great base. I thought it was pretty well thought out, pretty well laid out. I really enjoyed the palette. I loved the way it looked. And I learned a lot from that. Like, I like height variation. I like overlooks, even if they're not necessarily necessary. Even if you have creative flight, they're still fun. I like being able to walk to overlooks. That's just me. Like, when flying is fine, but I find that if you have like an area you can land on and overlook your base, it just makes it cooler. That's just me though. And then in terms of ATM 9, I learned that I don't like lawn bases, and I also learned how to do lighting in floors. Antimatter Chemistry didn't need lighting. It was an open roof base on a dimension that was day all the time. So I didn't need lighting. So I didn't really focus on lighting. I used glowstone to help count out stuff and as like a decorative thing, but we didn't really have lighting in that. And now I do. And so I've taken everything I've learned, what to do, what not to do from all the various bases I have played on this channel. And I've recently, I think I'm over a year now of playing Minecraft on this channel. And while I haven't been exactly every week, I haven't missed too many logs. So which is very, very cool. And I've gotten so much better at base building in just the last year alone. It's crazy, which is why I have to like really, inspire you. I really think you guys should try and push yourself in terms of base design. We have, like for example, in the Deep Mountain Complex, we have multiple solutions here that were developed in other portions of the base. Like using this was developed when using exterior foundations originally. We also saw this use in Factory Floor 2 on the interior side when I wanted to hide stuff that was above the wall. The pathways, like this, was originally designed for the underground hallways we had. And then I designed the roof in here for this area, and I continued that in here. We have staircases and stuff. All the stuff that I've designed for other areas about the base individually have shown up in other areas again, and sometimes in concert with other solutions. So I get better. Every room I build, every base I build, every room is better than the last. That's one of the things that I really love about this base is almost every room that I build that has something new becomes my new favorite place. Like when I first built Factory Floor 2, I loved this area because of the terraced area, right? And then I built LCR area, and I love the LCR area because like the cave, like all the ambiance you get from here. I even put glowstone up there so at night you can see what it looks like. You can see all the cave stuff too. You can see that in the microverse area as well. I think I've gone over this area. We do have all the stuff. We have quantum flux on passive here. This is the expensive recipe, but everything that goes into it we have on passive. Diamonds, iron, pulsating dust, and extraterrestrial matter. So, not a problem. I put more lighting in here too. I didn't build this one, and so Person did, and you can kind of see like the different design styles too, which I think is really neat, which is a really fun part of playing with more than one person, not just single player, like my other like Animator Chemistry Mechanical Mastery were. She wanted to do, she did some black terracotta, trim here. And I think that looks really cool. And she also didn't put any walls around it. So you can see the whole cave that it's in with all the ores around it and stuff too. I think it looks really, really cool. I love this area too. We'll have to replace, we don't have enough room here to build like different ones, or we might have to build them somewhere else. But eventually we can put the hyperbolic, like the N tier one, the hyperbolic microverse projector, which is the super endgame one. But it'll fit exactly in this footprint. And it can do all of the other microverse projectors as well as do them in parallel and stuff. Eventually we want to do micro miners on passive. You don't really need to. You should do them on demand, I think. But passive, everything. It would be fun. It'd be fun to do them on passive. So it might not be for a while where we'll get them on passive. We'll probably do them on demand originally, or maybe we'll even just do them manually rather than just ordering them through the computer. We love our thinking box. We hate doing crafting ourselves, so we have our thinking box do it for us. We don't even mine by hand anymore. It's not even Minecraft. It's GregTech. So eventually we'll have them on passive, I think. Though we'll have to see. What else? Oh yeah, I love this base. Every room I build is like my new favorite base or my new favorite room. Like I love how comfy it is in here, and I love like the ceiling and stuff. I feel like it looks really good in here. I like how it mirrors the floor a little bit too, without exactly mirroring it. I think it really makes it look like it's like longer and stuff too. I really love that kind of like the sight lines and stuff. And I love like the raised area in here, and you'll be able to like look down upon all the active machines and stuff too. It's gonna be really really good. I love this area. Every room I build is my new favorite one, and that's I think the sign of a good base. If you're loving what you're doing, if you're loving your base, you're gonna keep playing. That's really how it is. Even if you're struggling with some kind of progression or another, if you love the way your base looks, sometimes you'll just go, you know what, I'm gonna do some base building somewhere, because there's always a little bit of base building you can do. Like for example, we still have yet to build bridge supports. Like these are just to mark out where we want them. So you know what? If I ever get tired of like progression or something, and I'm sick of Greg Tech, beating me over the head with Greg Tech, you know what? I can always just come down, and you know what? I'll be like, fuck it. I'm gonna design some bridge supports, or maybe I'll do some more, trim work on some exteriors or something. I think that's what's really nice about building more than a lawn base, building a base that requires some actual effort to construct. Well, that's mean. Building a base that requires, thinking beyond, paving, that was one of my problems with ATM9 was it was very samey, and we basically just paved over the same chunk by chunk. I legitimately had a copy paste gadget in one of my backpacks that was just like a 3x3 district that was copied, and I would clear out a whole area with like an RF Tools builder, and then just paste it down and then move on, right? And so I'm liking this area. I'm glad that I don't have to chunk align. I'm glad that modern Greg Tech doesn't make you chunk align stuff. If we ever, and I'm gonna be real, I'm sure at some point I'm gonna play, Nami Factory or Greg Tech New Horizons, and when I do that, we will have to chunk align. But I like not chunk aligning right now because it allows rooms to be a little bit more organic and free flowing. I think like sometimes chunk aligning, the way I chunk align, because I struggle. Um, it's honestly like one of my biggest weaknesses is trunk aligning stuff and making it look good. Um, so if we ever play like those packs, Greg Tech packs where you do have to chunk align stuff, I think that'll be something that I will push myself to do. Will be to figure out a way of setting up a base that is chunk aligned. That's not just a checkerboard, effectively. You know. Um, yeah, I think that's probably about it. I think I've gone over everything. It's been a very productive week here. I actually had enough for like a normal sized log on Thursday or so, and I asked in my Discord and stuff. I'm like, "Do you guys want one early?" And they're like, "Nah, guys can push it. You can put it the normal time." But I was too excited. I couldn't wait till Sunday, guys. I'm sorry. I was too excited to show this stuff to you guys. This is I loved building this. This was so much fun. The LCR area was like 2.5 hours, 3 hours to build. Um, it was so much fun to build it, and I love this area. I love just hanging out here and stuff. I love like all the cave ambiance and stuff. Um, even all the I used to hate dripstone's texture, but it does bring like a lot of like ambiance. You know what I mean? Just like a lot of like feel into this place. I even built it into the wall over here, like as part of like the cave side. I think it looks really good. Um, all right, guys. It's been almost an hour at this point. We're about 52 minutes in. So this has been an absolute mega log. I'm glad to have finally been able to share all this stuff with you. I hope you guys have had a good week. Mine's been pretty good. For obvious reasons, gotten to play a lot of Greg Tech and stuff. Been pretty productive on that. I hope you guys have a good upcoming week. We'll have to see where mine's gonna go. And I will see you all again next week.